With Russell Wilson no longer being with the Denver Broncos, now being with the Steelers, the Denver Broncos are headed into a complete rebuild with Sean Payton. They cut Justin Simmons, they released Russell Wilson as well, and they lost their top center in Lord Cushenberry because they could not go out there and re-sign him because of the money that you owe Russell Wilson for the next 2 seasons. Now, the Denver Broncos could be in a very good situation in the next 3 to 4 years, but they're going to have to figure out that quarterback spot. Since Peyton Manning retired after that Super Bowl win in 2015, they have not had consistency at that spot. And due to not having consistency at the quarterback spot, this has been a bad football team over the last couple of years. Their defense has been solid. Even this season we're coming off of, yes, they let up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins, but their defense was very solid this season. Vance Joseph is a very good defensive mind. I have a lot of faith in Sean Payton to figure this entire thing out. Over the last couple of years, they have not been able to figure this thing out. And you look at the starting quarterback since Peyton Manning, it's been terrible. You had Teddy Bridgewater in there. Teddy Bridgewater was not a horrible quarterback with this team, but at the same time, he was not going to go out there and be a franchise quarterback with this team. They need a guy that can go out there, fully develop, and be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. They drafted Drew Lock, and I had high aspirations for this kid. The problem was you had Vic Fangio as the head coach, defensive-minded head coach. You also had Pat Schumer being the offensive coordinator. Horrible play calling held this kid back, and turnover problems held him back as well. He may just be settling in as just being a solid backup in the NFL with a big arm, but that kid never got a full opportunity with the Denver Broncos due to coaching and for him going out there and throwing interceptions as well. So he did not pan out with the Denver Broncos. You also had Joe Flacco in 2019 start some games with this team. Case Keenum in 2018. At this point, they're just grasping for straws. They're just going out there and just trying to put in veteran options to help elevate those guys like Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. They drafted Paxton Lynch. Remember him? That was the last quarterback that they drafted in the first round. The kid was a major bust with this team. He played a couple of games, was not going to be the valuable option with this team. He was terrible. They also had Trevor Siemian from 2016 to 2017 and Brock Osweiler as well. He came in and played some games in that 2015 season. He looked very solid. He went and got a major payday with the Houston Texans. They immediately regretted that deal. He came back to the Denver Broncos in 2017. That was the last sign that we saw of Trevor Siemian. So they have struggled to get the quarterback position right. But the last trade they made to go get Russell Wilson will be viewed as one of the worst trades in NFL history for the Denver Broncos. They got fleeced in that trade because the first season when they had Russell Wilson, he had 16 passing touchdowns to 11 interceptions. Nathaniel Hackett was a horrible head coach as well. So this is a team and a franchise in general that need to go out there and tear everything down and to rebuild everything. Justin Simmons is still on the open market. We'll see what team he goes to, but he was coming off a very solid season with the Denver Broncos this season. They're going to miss him on the defensive side, but they have a lot of young studs over there. But when you look at this team right now, you have Jarrett Stidham as your starting quarterback, and you have Ben DiNucci as the backup. Jarrett Stidham is a backup quarterback at best. He's not even the top backup quarterback in the NFL. He played some games this season for when they set down Russell Wilson. He had 496 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns to 1 interception. And then you have Ben DiNucci. Ben DiNucci was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, played some preseason games with him. He's not a true franchise quarterback either. So when you look at that first round pick that they have, it's either Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, or they're going to have to trade up and get a guy like Drake May that could fit into the system of Sean Payton. Sean Payton is going to have to go out there and deal with this with a quarterback that's going to be able to go out there and extend the play. I know that he's used to having a guy like Drew Brees that stands in the pocket and they can go out there and manipulate the field and read NFL defenses. That's fine and cool. But the best quarterbacks in the NFL today, they all can extend the play. You look at Patrick Mahomes, you look at Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. They're not statues inside the pocket. The same with Joe Burrow. They can beat you from inside and outside the pocket. The problem was with Russell Wilson, he would hold on to the football for too long. And you can see a lot of time on film that Sean Payton would be on the sideline with the clipboard in his hand, and he is fuming because Russell Wilson would have a wide open wide receiver across the middle of the field. He wouldn't see him. Then he'll have his back turned because he's scrambling. Then he'll deliver the football to a guy like Samaje in the flat or to a guy like Javonte Williams, who's a running back into the flat. But you just wasted time. Sean Payton runs a hard system. It's a timing system. He had to be very accurate in this system. And Russell Wilson was not a bad quarterback. He had 26 passing touchdowns to 8 interceptions, but he did not fit Sean Payton's type of quarterback with that skill set. So maybe they go out there and get a guy like Bo Nix or a guy like J.J. McCarthy. The problem is you could be reaching for a quarterback in the first round, similar to what you did with Paxton Lynch. Now, the difference is you have a better head coach in Sean Payton who has had success with the New Orleans Saints. And I hope that could be the case, because if not, if they missed out on Sean Payton as well, and he's not the same Sean Payton from a couple years ago, the Denver Broncos are going to be looked at as one of the worst teams in the NFL for the next couple of years. But they're trying to make good off of what happened in the past with that Russell Wilson trade. The domino effect is still going to be kicking this team in the backside for the next couple of years, because you have to pay that salary of a guy like Russell Wilson, who is no longer with this roster. And then I look at the running backs with this team. Javonte Williams, I like his skill set. Very good running back. He doesn't have the same explosiveness in the open field, and he's coming off that ACL injury. This season, he has 774 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. He averaged 3.6 yards a carry. And this is a guy that played very good when he was splitting carries with Melvin Gordon his rookie season, right before he tore that ACL. Hopefully he can return back to form. You have Jaleel as a backup running back. He's very good. I like his skill set a lot. 410 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. He averaged 5.4 yards a carry, only on 76 catches. So you get those 76 carries. So if you get those carries up, I think that he could be a very good number 2 running back to a guy like Javonte Williams. You did go out there and you did trade Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy was not a bad wide receiver. Some people disrespect Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy was solid. The problem was this kid never developed to that next level. And it wasn't all on Jerry Jeudy. He did have some major drops. That is on him, but it was bad coaching for majority of his career. This is a kid that had to deal with bad offensive play calling right before Sean Payton came to this team. And he did the best that he could, given the opportunity. And another problem is this guy that was drafted in the first round, you have to exercise that 5th-year option sooner than later, and then you have to go out there and possibly pay him. He wasn't a horrible wide receiver, but did not develop to that next level. Courtland Sutton is a true number 1 wide receiver. No, he did not have over 1,000 yards, but that does not mean that you're not a good wide receiver. Courtland Sutton had 10 receiving touchdowns on the season. That was tied with 4th in the NFL. He has 772 receiving yards on the season, and he averaged 13 yards a catch. A true number 1 wide receiver, a big body wide receiver that fits the system of a guy like Sean Payton. And Sean Payton really loves this kid. Now you're going to have to go out there and draft another wide receiver as well. Lucky enough for Denver Broncos, this is a great wide receiving class. Amazing wide receiving class. You can't depend on a guy like Tim Patrick to stay healthy. We've seen him in back-to-back years. He hasn't played any football in the regular season. 734 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns in 2021. That's the last time this kid played. And they have not released him off the roster, but it's going to be very interesting to see if he can make this roster for his upcoming season. The only other option that you do have is a guy like Marvin Mims, who has elite speed and is a great special teamer. On 22 catches, he had 377 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. He averaged 17 yards a catch. Elite speed, and was amazing in that Miami Dolphins game when the Denver Broncos got blown out in. So you do have some complementary pieces around the quarterback position, but you have to get better. It comes down to the play calling of Sean Payton. And like I mentioned before, I'm worried about this team possibly going out there and reaching on a quarterback like how they did with Paxton Lynch. Hopefully, Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy or a quarterback that they trade up for will be better and light years better than a guy like Paxton Lynch, but we will see. The offensive line is solid. They went out in last year's free agency and they brought in a guy like Mike McGlinchey, solid right tackle with this team. They got Ben Powers as well, just a running guard with this team. You already have Garrett Bowles. You did lose Lloyd Cushenberry, like I said. And that wasn't a Denver Broncos decision just to let the guy walk. They wanted to keep him around. He's an elite center. The problem is you cannot go out there and spend money because you owe Russell Wilson money for the next 2 years. And that really sucks with Denver Broncos because they have some cap flexibility. You could bring in some veterans to possibly come in and help out this team up front with the offensive line, that zone running system that Sean Payton has. I do think that Sean Payton can go out there and work with what he has on the offensive end, but it's going to be a struggle. And you look at the defense. The defense is going to be very good with or without Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons, phenomenal safety. He is getting older, but your defense is still going to be very good. You have Patrick Surtain, one of the best lockdown corners in the NFL. Only had 1 interception this season and 12 passes deflected, but quarterbacks should not throw his way. And then you also look at the adjustment that Vance Joseph made at the halfway point of the season. Jaquan McMillan, that's an awesome cornerback to have with this team in that nickel defense. He was a lockdown, shutdown corner. 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 5 passes deflected. And they also went out there as well, and they stopped throwing his way. So you have 2 shutdown corners. That helps out the Vance Joseph defense because they can get pressure up front with what they have. Nick Bonito was very good this season. He did not get a lot of love from national media, but had 8 sacks on the season, 1 forced fumble. You also have Baron Browning as well, who is a solid linebacker with this team, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He's 25 years old. You hope that he can develop in this system with Vance Joseph as well. So you have a defense that can go out there and stop the run, and it can contain the quarterback, and their secondary is borderline elite with the corners that they have, especially with Jaquan McMillan and Patrick Surtain. And this is a football team. Between weeks 5 through 10, they could run the football at a high level. Now, it comes down to Lloyd Cushenberry because they ran behind him a lot. But at the same time, they're running it in between the tackles with Javonte Williams and with Jalil as well. So they can go out there and they can run the football, dink and dunk your way down the field with a guy like a Bo Nix or possibly J.J. McCarthy, whoever the first-round quarterback is. You're going to be in a very good situation because you have those complementary pieces around that kid. This is not going to be a playoff caliber team, not for this upcoming season. And they may be worse for this upcoming season than they were for this season that we're just coming off of, because Russell Wilson was not a bad quarterback this season. But Sean Payton was brought in to save the Denver Broncos and to help Russell Wilson, not to save Russell Wilson and help the Denver Broncos. They brought in Sean Payton to come in here and basically steer this rebuild with this new ownership. So we'll see what happens long term. But I do believe right now the Denver Broncos are going to be a bad football team, because they're going to be young and be dealing with a rookie quarterback in this system. You're not going to have those veterans on this team due to that cap situation that you're dealing with right now, Russell Wilson. But in the next 3 to 4 years, they can figure some things out. And I would not be surprised if the Denver Broncos are a hard football team to beat in the next couple of years, especially for this upcoming season. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs this season. They had a lot of good games this season. At the halfway point in the season, they were in talks of possibly being in the NFL playoffs. Then the next thing you know, Russell Wilson went out there, they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. He confirmed this. They said, hey, are you going to take a pay cut? He said, no. Are you going to waive away the insurance? No, he said, no, I'm not going to waive away my guarantees. And that was basically his insurance. And he would be a fool to do that. So Denver Broncos say, hey, we're going to sit you down because if you get injured, we're going to owe you more money. They didn't want to do that. They moved off of Russell Wilson, and I do believe that both parties would benefit from it. Sean Payton gets a fresh start with the Denver Broncos, and Russell Wilson would get a brand new start with the Steelers. I think it's a win-win. No one was going to trade for Russell Wilson in that contract. They had no choice but to cut him. And the way that Sean Payton was looking at Russell Wilson, the way that he was getting on Russell Wilson, it wasn't going to happen either. That relationship was done from day one. And hopefully Sean Payton is not going to be that tough on this young quarterback coming into the NFL, because he wasn't this tough on Drew Brees in his career, but he was setting an example with Russell Wilson. So that's the culture that Sean Payton wants to have. We will see. And Sean Payton was rubbed the wrong way with the stories they heard about Russell Wilson. And I believe Russell Wilson was sick and tired of Sean Payton yelling at him for certain things that were not his fault, like certain offside penalties going on with the offensive line and certain drops as well. But let me know in the comment section below how you guys feel about the Denver Broncos and who should they draft in the first round. And another thing as well, this team has finally got a first round pick back, their own first round pick. In the last couple of years, they haven't been able to do that because they traded numerous first-round picks to go get Russell Wilson. So they could possibly trade up in the NFL draft, but you're sacrificing draft capital. These draft picks are going to be very essential with the Denver Broncos because you can't build your team through free agency. You have to build it through the NFL draft due to not being able to go out there and spend on big-time free agents for the next couple of years while you pay Russell Wilson that $32 million for his upcoming season and the season after that. But let me know in the comment section below how do you guys feel about the Denver Broncos right now. And they're having a fire sale. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, we want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.